Hey everybody, how are you doing? I hope you're having a great time and welcome to a new video. In which this case, I mostly want to share some thoughts about what I think about the recent movie that was released, which is Kung Fu Panda 4. In which, as a big fan of the franchise, I actually enjoyed the film, but there's more that I actually want to talk in this video. So, with that said, there are two things that I want to make clear. Number one, I am no movie critic. I'm mostly just a normal guy. I'm just sharing my thoughts of what I think of this whole movie. Like, I'm just a casual guy sharing his thoughts on a movie that he just watched. Number two, there's gonna be spoilers in this video. Spoilers everywhere. Like, editor, put like 3 pictures of spoilers just to like make sure you tell the people. So if you haven't seen the film, then I recommend you go watch it and enjoy the experience yourself, because I think it's pretty worth it. Or if you just want to hear my thoughts while getting spoiled, or if you have already seen the movie, then feel free to stay. If you have a different opinion than mine, then you can feel free to leave them down in the comments below. I will be really happy to read all of you. So with that said, let's get started. So, what did I enjoy about this movie? I think the thing I should start talking about is the first obvious thing, and that is the animation. And I have to say that out of all the movies in the franchise, the animation in this movie pretty much surpasses some of the other films. I mean, not that the other ones are bad, of course, but it's like the animation in this movie is gorgeous. Like, most of the fighting scenes were actually really well done, and I really enjoyed most of those scenes. Like, I gotta say, like, when I was watching it in theaters, I was like amazed as to how good the animation was actually looking like. Like, pretty much that was a really positive point. If you're looking for good animation, you will not be disappointed. Now, as for the story, I have to say that it was actually good, but like not as good as the other ones, cause like, yeah, this is the first negative thing I'm gonna say. It's like, story was pretty decent, but it's like, there's no, how do I say it? You don't find any of those emotions that you, for example, find in the third or the second film, or even the first one. Cause while it is true that at some point I considered the third movie inferior to the other two films, at least there was still emotional moments, like at least some memorable moments that actually gave you some emotion, which is something that this movie unfortunately doesn't have. There are some times that this movie becomes quite predictable. For example, there's one scene where Po meets Sen for the first time, where she's actually faking the death, and Po falls for it, but we all know that she was just faking it. Or the obvious betrayal that happened at some point of the movie. I personally, at some point, was like, maybe she's gonna betray him at some point. And it's like, I literally saw it coming. At that point, it was somewhat predictable, but it's like, yeah, that's a negative point right there. So another thing I want to say is, let's talk about a little bit about the villain, the Chameleon. Now, I will say that compared to the other villains, she might actually be the weakest one, because like, while it is true that she could be a menace, like, she could be somewhat intimidating at some points, like you can see in the movie, she actually puts up a fight as changing forms. But it's like, outside of that, it's like she never fights in her base form, only one time against Sen, and it's like, she's only relying on those powers that she absorbed. I feel like the other villains were a menace while fighting by themselves. It's like the fact that she's relying on stealing the powers from other warriors, like, they literally bring back Tai Long, they bring back Shen, they bring back Kai, other warriors, just so she can steal her energy, their energy, just so she can become more powerful and have more recognition. What? So it's like, Kai? Obviously, Kai was weaker in terms of character compared to Tai Long and Shen, but at least he was somewhat more powerful because he was a spiritual warrior. He was the most powerful foe that Po ever faced. Like, that's the difference. I obviously makes sense, she can change forms, you know, but it's like, don't rely too much on them. Like, rely somewhat on your own strength. And another thing I want to say is that some of the scenes where there's like a finisher, for example, where Poe uses where he uses some of the finishers and unleashes the power of the golden dragon. Like that actually was really cool. Like I like those moments, and then the moment he says skadoosh, his iconic line, I feel like that was a really good moment. But anyways, another thing I want to say, I am very disappointed that they did not include the Furious 5, because you know, in the other movies, they gave the Furious 5 somewhat of protagonism, you know? On the first movie, they gave them their own battle with Tai Long on the bridge. On the second movie, they literally give them a whole arc trying to stop Shin on their own. And the third movie, while it is true that there are some of them that don't do too much, at least they give them some screen time, you know? And they actually gave them some time to shine. In this movie, on the other hand, you know what? You want to know how many times they appear? One time. Only at the end, on the credit sequence. That is the only time that they appear. And it is true that this movie is supposed to be about Poe looking for the successor, because now he has to be like a leader, and now he has to look for another Dragon Warrior. And obviously the movie wants to focus on Poe and Sen, which I think they make a pretty good duo. But come on, dude, the other 3 films actually involve the Furious 5 somehow, and in this movie, they only mention that they are busy, and other than that, nothing else. They only appear at the end, and that's it. And it's like, I kind of wished we could have seen something about them, like, you know, maybe at least a couple of scenes of action with them, but then again, that's just me. Another thing I want to mention, Shifu, our poor buddy Shifu. The man was just left aside, and obviously I know that he's like, you know, he's aging, he's like becoming, you know, can't be there for the fights anymore, but like, even in the second, third movies, when he was just pretty much about to retire from being a master, he still fought against Shen, against Kai, and then in this one, he only said, oh, Poe, you need to look for a new Dragon Warrior, come to the next step into protecting the Valley of Peace, or something like that. But other than that, I feel he was just there for nothing. Another thing I want to say, the dads of Poe pretty much did nothing. Because they went from helping in the third movie to just following Poe all the way to where he is, give them a couple of speeches, and that is it. Even in the final battle, when they go to fight the Chameleon, Lee or the Duck, none of them didn't do anything. They went from helping in the third movie to doing nothing in this one, outside of just following Poe to wherever he goes. But anyways, that pretty much is gonna be it for what I think of this film. Final score, probably like a 7.5 or an 8 out of 10. Actually, no, I'm gonna go with 7.5. Like I said, it's pretty good. It's pretty enjoyable. It's not a bad movie, and it's like, I feel like if you enjoyed the last 3 ones, I think you're gonna enjoy this one. Probably not as much as you enjoyed the other 3, but like, it's still really enjoyable, and I can recommend it. However, keep in mind what I said in this video, and just in case you're gonna be disappointed in some stuff. And if I had to place them from worst to best, I'm gonna say again, there is no bad movie in this whole series. Well, it would mostly be last place for the 4th movie, unfortunately. Like, it's actually really unfortunate, because actually one of my hopes when I went to see the movie in the theaters was that it at least surpassed the 3rd movie, but unfortunately it did not. 4th movie stays in last place, followed up by the 3rd movie. Then comes the 1st movie, and then the 2nd one is my favorite and the one that I consider the best. And if I sit tight to talk about it, it's gonna take a whole separate video. But nevertheless, that's gonna be it for my thoughts of Kung Fu Panda 4. Then again, these are just my thoughts. I'm just a normal guy, and if you have different thoughts or your own opinion on the movie, then feel free to comment down below. I will be really, really happy to read you all down there. I would really appreciate it if you drop a like and subscribe. That really helps a lot for the channel, and I really, really appreciate it. So thank you all for watching, I hope you enjoyed, and I will see you in the next one.